All right, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Brain Bucket Podcast. Today I have my boy with me, John Espinoza. Introduce yourself.
John Espinoza, the one and only, my man.
So tell everyone about yourself, bro. Like,
Shoot, I'm 51 years old. Known you for going on 15, 20 years, maybe.
yeah,
Working
since
together
old camp, bro. It's
since
been a
old
minute.
camp.
Yeah,
I started there in '09. So since then,
yeah. I think I started there. Yeah, like this. I wonder if we were in the same class. I don't remember because I started there 09 or 010,
yeah,
somewhere on there.
with Chris Raby and
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
group doing
Yeah.
that was my group over there.
So,
At the,
did you start? Was your group Zuno?
no, I think he was a group ahead of me. I was after him.
Okay, because I was in Zuno's group. That's where I met him.
Yeah.
I remember during training, I was a fucking young buck.
You guys go to the guard place in El Centro, the National Guard facility. Is that where you did your training?
No, for the guard card?
Yeah.
No, I went to this place.
Or just for the training for work, like the 2 week
Oh,
training.
I do remember going over there, like for tactical shit.
Yeah, that was where we did our 2 weeks right there.
Yeah, I remember being there for a little bit.
Actually, with Celine was in my group. Celine, Chris Raby, Reed, Tyvon Reed, and Joe Phillips.
So how you been, brother?
I've been good, man. Just trying to get my knees taken care of, get them squared away. But
You got a blown out.
I had a completely total knee replacement on my left knee, and I got to get it done on my right.
Damn, bro. What does a knee replacement consist of?
They completely took out my knee and put a brand new one in. And I'll be real honest with you. I wish I would have had it done sooner. It feels amazing.
Really?
Oh my God. I was in pain every single day, every night. Once they got it done, the first 2 weeks after the surgery was a little rough. It was extremely painful because they didn't get the pain medications right, and I was suffering. But after that, man, after going to therapy and them working me out, oh, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And it feels amazing now.
But what is that shit fucking, is it metal or what?
Yeah, it's metal. It's metal in there.
That's
Metal
crazy.
and a little bit of plastic. It looks weird. The x-rays look strange. And I can feel it in here. Like you can feel something in here. Not discomfort wise, but you just can feel like this is not a regular knee.
No pain.
No pain.
Really?
None.
That's crazy, man.
None.
That's awesome.
Dude, I can bend it back and everything. No
Really?
issues. Yeah. So as soon as I get this one done, I'll be a brand new man.
That's crazy, man. A lot of people, like I've had my back's been messed up for a long time, and I remember years ago the VA wanted to do back surgery on me, and I've been hesitant to do it just because I feel I'm still young to do it.
And it's your back.
You know what I
You're
mean?
always skeptical going
Imagine
in there.
you mess up your back. There's no going back.
Nope.
You mess up one knee, at least you got another one.
Yeah, exactly. Your back and your back and your neck are the two major deals.
The big
with your
ones,
body.
huh?
Yeah, those you want to do your due diligence before you start going in there and making a mess in there.
So tell me about where'd you grow up?
Grew up in Holtville, born and raised, and graduated high school in class of '90.
So you're from the valley?
From the valley, born and raised. I moved out of the valley when I graduated for about a year to Salinas.
Oh, really? You went in Salinas?
Yeah,
I grew up there.
Yeah, I lived up there with my uncle. I worked for Pepsi Cola up there. My route was Fort Ord.
Mm-hmm.
That's how long ago it was. That doesn't even exist anymore. But that
It was an army base, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That was part of my route, Fort Ord, and I worked up there probably about a year with my uncle. Well, I lived with him. He worked for 7-Up. I worked for Pepsi. My cousin went with me. We both worked for Pepsi, and then I wasn't ready for that move, so I came back home.
How long did you do that for?
Probably just under a year, about a year or so. And then I was like, you know what, this place isn't for me, and I came back home.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. You know.
And what'd you do after that?
Just kind of worked little odds and ends. Lived in a double wide trailer outside of El Centro with a couple of roommates. My buddy Matt, my cousin's girlfriend, and him. So there was 4 of us living in a 2-bedroom double wide. So I worked like at a gas station. I worked like at a 7-Eleven. Just worked wherever.
Yeah.
Just to make ends meet and feed myself, and then finally got hired at Pepsi Cola.
Here?
In Brawley. Me and my cousin, again, both of us got hired there. Merchandisers, I believe it was back in '92. I got hired there. Worked there for about 2, maybe 3 years. And then went over to Coca-Cola and worked there for about 3 years. and then left there, and we decided to move. I was with my wife at the time. We had just gotten married, so we decided to move to Vegas.
You lived in Vegas, bro?
For a year.
No shit.
Got a job at Frito-Lay in Vegas.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And how was that?
You know what? It was interesting. At the time, we wanted something different. We wanted to get away from our families and start our own life and stuff. And it was a little rough. It was rough. For me, in my opinion, at the time, Vegas wasn't the place to raise a family. There was just too many pitfalls there, too many distractions, you know. So yeah, it was a rough year. It wasn't exactly a highlight of my life.
Yeah.
You know, it was a lot of roughness. So we ended up coming back and worked some odds and end jobs. Got picked up at Budweiser and worked there from about 99 till 2001, November of 2001, and then in 2002 I left to the police academy.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's really good. That's where the fun begins.
That's really good. Actually, I take that back. Back in, I think it was 98, 99, I took a leave. Or actually, before I went to Budweiser, correction, I actually went to the police academy. Before that, I went to Riverside, to the Ben Clark Training Center, enrolled in there and got financial aid and all that, and started there.
But is that like a police academy over there or what?
It's a police academy over there. It's basically for the Riverside Sheriff's Department, but it's open to other departments to send their cadets there. Oh. And it's a paramilitary deal. It's, you know, like going to boot camp.
Yeah.
Me not being a military guy, you know, it was a complete shock, you know, to everything going on there. But I made it through the first about 2.5 months, and then I started having issues with shin splints, and I started lagging on my PT, and I started noticing that there was one morning we went to Riverside Community College for our PT, and so you show up in the gym every morning and you line up in formation and what have you. And this older gentleman came in this door. Never seen him before in my 2.5 months I'd been there. Never showed up to PT, nothing. He was probably in his late 50s, maybe even early 60s. And this guy comes right in and walks straight up to me, gets in my face, and just starts tuning me up, spitting in my face, yelling me up and down. And I knew, I was like, oh, these guys are talking about me because I'm a shitbag in PT. I've kind of fallen to the back of the class, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. So I ended up dropping out and reassessing, you know, and getting into, because they do a lot of running over there.
I was not expecting you to say
that. Yeah. I knew then. I was like, you're fucked, dude. These guys are on you. And when they're talking about you or you're on their radar, you're fucked, dude. And you know from the military, you know, like, oh, you've been labeled something. So
I pictured it out. I was listening to you talk.
Did you see that tear in my eye? It still hurts me to this day. Man.
I'm living it, right?
Right.
I'm living the fucking story, and then you say some shit like that.
Yes.
Oh
man.
my God.
I wasn't prepared because at this time I'm already, I think I'm 28 years old, around there, 27, maybe around there. Had no law enforcement experience.
But were you out of shape or you're just being a shitbag?
I just, you know what? I was in shape.
Or both.
No, I was in shape, like lifting weights, but I wasn't in cardio shape. So, you know, I can run 1.5 miles, 2 miles. Okay. But these guys are having you run 5 miles. Okay. 5 miles. And then you had to carry a big, so say our class was 30 deep. So there's a big old thick rope with knots, and you'd have to carry it over your shoulder, all 30. They'd have you run about 1 mile, and then they would stop you, and the rope could never touch the ground. Okay.
Or it does, you're fucked.
You're screwed. So then you put the rope behind your neck, and we'd have to pump out 25 push-ups, and then get up with the rope never touching the ground, continue another mile, boom, drop, and do another, 25, 50. You know,
I'm imagining you doing this right now. In my mind, I'm looking at you.
It was wild. I was like, what in the fuck is this shit? You know? So I started developing shin splints. And then, next thing you know, I would never walk.
How much did you weigh?
But, I was in great shape back then, dude. I think it was like 200, 205 pounds lifting weights solid.
That's not bad. Yeah.
No, I was in great shape, dude. I just wasn't a runner. I'm not a runner, like a distance runner like that, like 5 miles.
Especially if you've never done it like that before.
And I've never been associated with military training, law enforcement. So this was a complete, I entered a world that I was not familiar with.
Yeah.
and it was an eye opener. And so when that morning happened, I actually thought about quitting that day. And some of my classmates are like, "No, don't let them do it to you." And so when I got home, I was actually staying with my ex-wife's cousin. He worked for Riverside County Sheriff. He was a sheriff in Lake Elsinore.
Mhm.
So he knew some of the guys. So I was getting tuned up because of him too. Just
Oh,
because
he
they
knew the
knew
instructors or
they
what?
knew, yeah,
Yeah.
he knew him. So when I was talking to him and letting him know what's going on, he was like, "Yeah, man, they're on your ass already." So I made a decision. It's probably best for me to
Reset.
drop, get myself in better position, and then come back in about 2 years and do it again. My GPA, I was like at a 91 or 90%. Like I was up there. My grade, everything
Yeah.
else was fine. It's just, I was a shitbag when it came to PT, and they knew it and they were on me. So, and that's never a good thing. So I dropped, came back to the Valley, worked at Budweiser for about 2 years.
But hold on, wait, you paid for that out of pocket?
I paid for that out of pocket
To get fucked up?
to get fucked up, dude. I donated. I actually paid for these dudes to fuck. Dude, I went through Hell Week, through Black Friday. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
So I went through that where
I mean, I've heard about it. I've never done it, but
you're fucked in the morning when you show up to class and there's people there with lawn chairs standing by to watch this. This is a show. People know about it up there. Show up for Black Friday and just watch them just fuck
popcorn and shit.
Oh. And so I remember showing up and people are there in lawn chairs and I'm like, what in the hell? And then it just started. They take your baton, throw it, so you got to run and get it. And when you go to pick it, they step on it, make you do push-ups. Like they just completely humiliate you for about 4 hours.
Oh, damn.
And they're trying to get people to quit. They weed you out and they insult you, insult your family. Like there's no limits to what they'll
especially
do.
back then, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think it's still the same, or do you think it's a toned down now? Now with all everything,
it's got to be toned down.
Yeah,
because I can't imagine that still existing.
Yeah,
people are too thin-skinned for that. Nobody will ever fucking graduate if they did that.
Yeah.
So, but it was an interesting experience. It prepared me to go back. Now I knew what to expect. I knew what I needed to do, and so I waited 2 years and continued to lift weights. I ran and reapplied. And so a couple of buddies of mine that were already at the department, they're like, "Listen, dude, if you're going to pay for yourself to go to the academy, my advice to you is to go to Eureka. They stress more academics. They do physical fitness, but they go like on 2-mile runs, 2 times a week, maybe 3, but they're more focused on academics." So that's what I did. I got financial aid, took out some loans, and went up there and to the academy in 2002 in January. I'm like, fuck, man. They're not going to do this to me again. Do you promise? Fuck, dude. Was not, can you imagine, dude? Was not ready for that. Not. I was like, how the fuck does this guy know who I am, man? Like, I'm not even looking at him. He came straight, and I was at formation start over there, and I was at the last row, and he came straight to me. Like, it's like they got together, like, this is what he looks like. This is him. Fucking get his ass. Oh, man. I knew then.
I'm gonna have to reset for this. Jesus fucking Christ.
True story, though. True story.
Did anyone fucking blow a gasket?
No.
So you went back. You took 2 years off.
I dropped out. Took 2 years off to get in shape, and then obviously I had a family, I had a wife, 3 kids, so I had to work. And just started. I applied up in Eureka. You got to submit your application and your entry exam scores and all the paperwork and all. So I did all that, and I got accepted.
But at that point, you're not with an agency yet.
No, I'm just on my own. I'm working at Budweiser and doing this on the side. So I'm going in, not being sponsored. I'm sponsoring myself. Mm-hmm. So that gives you the liberty when you graduate, you can go to any department you want.
Oh, that's cool.
I chose to do that so that way when I got out, my options were open, because I had a couple of guys that were picked up by a department and they were sent there. So when they got out, they had to go to that department and work at least 2 or 3 years before they could venture out anywhere else. They had like a commitment.
Yeah, I
didn't. I was able to go wherever I wanted to go. So I left for Eureka January of 2002. Drove up there, rented a car, drove up there, rented a bedroom from an elderly lady. When you apply up there for the academy, they send you this packet, and in this packet is like a 2-page list. And there's a lot of people up there who have extra bedrooms or whatever. Their kids have moved out, and so they rent them to cadets. So I rented a bedroom from
Jesus Christ.
This is all true story, man. From an elderly lady named Betty Brown. Her name was Betty Brown.
Fuck.
So actually, me and another buddy of mine, he actually works for Imperial PD right now. We both were up there.
Who'd you go with?
Octavio Ayala.
Okay.
He at that time was sponsored by Hopeville PD, and another guy, Nestor, he was sponsored by
Hopefully it
Hopeville
doesn't
PD.
have a PD anymore, huh?
No, that's why, because they wasted money on those two guys. No, they just don't. It's a strange investment because you invest all this money in the cadet, and if they go up there and they don't make it, well, then you've wasted all that money. You know,
Yeah, as a city, yeah.
you get bumped out. So a lot of them, they can't afford to do the hiring process and then send the cadet and hope that they make it.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
police, I'm sure police agencies like vet them first.
They
right?
do a
Like,
lot of
okay,
vetting.
You gotta be in shape.
Yeah.
You gotta pass these standards before they
Yeah.
send you out there.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, so I went up there, moved in with this lady with with Octavio. He rented a room and I rented a room. And so basically I had the room, shower, had access to laundry facilities and the kitchen. So if I wanted to cook or whatever. And so it was a 6-month academy.
And it wasn't as hard as the first one getting off.
Physically wise, we would run Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and it was a 2-mile fun run. I can handle 2-mile fun run. I'm not doing 5 miles carrying a fucking anchor rope from a battleship, and the rope can never touch the ground. And you stop every 20 minutes doing 25 push-ups, and you're running through a cemetery, up hills, and that's just a lot for me at the time. I'm not a runner. So
John,
yeah,
dude.
I'll stick with the 2 miles. I'm sorry.
So then you made it, and then what happened?
Through up in Eureka.
Yeah, you graduated.
I graduated.
it?
Graduated up there. That was fun. That was a fun 6 months up there. Met some very interesting people. There's some strange characters up there in Humboldt County.
Oh, really?
Oh, there's some strange characters. So anyway, so yeah, I graduated in the end of June, and I graduated in uniform, so I was already picked up by Imperial PD.
So so you're applying while you're already there.
So at the last 2 months, they have you start applying, and then agencies will come up there and do like almost like a what do you call them, those when people go to the high schools? Career day.
Oh,
It's
career
almost
day.
like a career day. So these departments will show up to the academies and they'll start interviewing, having you fill applications and trying to recruit you.
Yeah.
So I already knew where I wanted to go, and I knew who wanted to pick me up. And so I was able to get hired prior to graduating. So I graduated in a full uniform and all that. And then I actually started in September of 2002.
Oh, damn, dude.
Yeah. So right out of the gate.
And then what happened? So now you're 02, you're 20 what? How old are you at the time?
I'm 30 years old, I think. 30, 31. Yeah.
Well, fuck it, with a badge and a gun.
With a badge and a gun. Divorced. With 3 kids.
So you're single, ready to
So
mingle.
I'm single and just trying to explore this new career that I don't really know a whole lot about because none of my family had ever done anything like that, military or law enforcement. Well, I had some uncles in the military, but as far as immediate family doing law enforcement or anything like that, it had never been done.
What made you want to be a cop? Like
A
how did that start?
couple of buddies of mine that actually, a friend of mine in particular, and I'm not going to say his name, but we used to play softball together and baseball in Mexicali, and he worked there at the department, and he was asking me, why don't you ever thought about law enforcement? I was like, it seems like it's hard to get in there. And he's like, no, you got to take a test, an entry exam, you got to apply, and you just got to pass a 6-month academy.
And not be a shitbag.
And not be a fucking shitbag. If you can do that, then. So I looked into it, and because I thought stuff like that didn't happen to people like me back then. So it was all new to me. And so when I actually went through it And about 2 months left in the academy. I partied a lot in the beginning, you know. I was taking it seriously, but I was of the mindset, you know what? What's going to fuck up? You know, because I already went through the other deal. Like, what's going to happen? It's going to fuck up. It's going to cause me to fail this. That was my mentality. I was waiting to fail. And then 3 months into it, I'm like, you know what? My GPA was a 94.6.
Oh, damn.
I was at least in the middle or the upper 3/4 of the class in PT. So, you know, I'm like, you know what? Fuck, dude. You're actually going to pull this shit off, man. So last 2 months, I buckled down, stopped partying, and got serious. And yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's
Yeah.
cool. And then, so what happens when you graduate? You're in it was Imperial, right? Imperial
Yeah.
PD. And then so fucking walk me through that, dude. Like, you're 30 years young and you're
Man.
badging a gun and you're out there. You know what I mean?
Talk about
Because all of a sudden, from one day from working at a Pepsi and Coca-Cola, now you have this
Yeah.
big responsibility,
Well,
huge responsibility.
I was a reserve there at Imperial PD for about 2 years. I went to IVC and took the reserve classes.
Mhm.
So I was a level 2 reserve, which I couldn't carry a firearm, but I can transport inmates to the jail if they needed me to, whatever. But I would go and do ride-alongs. I had been doing ride-alongs for 2 years. So I was
Mhm.
getting a firsthand view of, you know, how it goes and what's going on and stuff like that.
I'm thinking they have you as a meter maid or what?
Right? Here, hold this. Here, sign
Hold my
this.
ticket book. Hold my fucking ticket book.
As long as they didn't ask me to run, we were good.
So,
But so I
you
had
have an idea.
I had a good idea of, you know, what I was getting into and what have you. And then to go back, so what kind of got me in this direction, I forgot to tell you, it was a specific incident actually. When I was working for Budweiser, I was delivering beer at El Central Liquor. It was on a Friday. It's my last stop of the day.
Is that the one on 4th Street?
It's the one on 4th Street, yeah. Where the old Greyhound used to
Oh,
be,
yeah,
right
yeah.
up the street, right there in
Mhm.
that corner.
Yep.
Where
I used to know a guy right there. He used to sell me beer when I was a minor.
next door, that was the Dairy Queen is next door. Now it's a donut shop, but it used to be
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a Dairy Queen.
I know exactly what we're talking about. I used to buy back in the day when I was growing up. I used to during high school. I used to go to Mexicali a lot, and I think it was a neighbor that knew a lot of people over there, and he ended up getting me a fake ID from Mex.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would buy beer with that guy.
Yeah.
He knew. You
That
know
was
what I
a
mean?
spot to go.
Yeah.
That was a spot to. That one and that other liquor store across from China Palace. It used to be a liquor store right there.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
when
yeah.
I was in high school. That's where we would go by.
Where right next to
The donut shop right
Yeah,
there. They would never card you.
it's not open anymore.
No, they closed that down.
Right next to the hotels, like
Yeah.
the
I forgot
shitty
the name
hotels.
of it, but yeah, that was our spot. That's where we would go
Damn.
buy beer. So anyway, so I'm delivering to Ken was the owner, Asian dude. Him and his brother were there at the time, and I'm going back and forth. I'm taking in beer, and I notice he's getting into a verbal with little cholo guy in there with his girlfriend, little gangster looking dude, and so he kicks him out like, hey, you know what? Get out of my store. I'm not gonna put up with you. So I'm continuing, but I'm watching them, and next thing you know, they're out in front of the store, in front of the entry of the store, and now they're face to face. So I put my stack down, and now they've pushed each other, and the little Cholito pulls out a knife, and so now I get in between them, like, hey, Ken, just go back in the store. Hey, you man, he asked you to leave, just leave. Well, the dude swings around me and stabs the owner right here in the ribs.
What?
Stabs him in the ribs, and I turn around and look, and I see the owner grab his side, and blood starts coming down his hand.
Oh my god!
And I'm like, oh shit, he just stabbed this dude. And so the guy takes off running. The brother comes out. I'm like, hey, call 911. And so I go and I chase this guy. Okay. I kind of have an idea. I've been doing ride-alongs. So I chased him not to catch him, but I chased him just to follow him.
Yeah.
I stayed about a quarter or half a block away from him, just enough to where I can keep an eye on him, but not close enough to where we're going to get into a physical, because I know he's got a knife. And so, and actually prior to him running off, the brother comes out with a samurai sword.
Oh, shit.
And they square off in the street. The guy's got a knife. The owner's brother's got a samurai sword. So that's when
Is he Asian?
They're both Asian, Chinese guys, dude.
Oh shit.
So I tell the brother, hey, you need to go take care of your brother. Call 911, get him to the hospital. I'm going to follow this guy. Let the cops know I'm following him.
Mm-hmm.
So I followed him for about 5 blocks behind the that mall on Main Street. In one of the alleys, he goes down an alley, and I go down an alley, and here comes a unit. So I grab the guy finally, and he headbutts me, bloody by nose, but I was able to hold him there till cops got there and they arrested him.
That is a crazy story. What
Yeah.
happened to the owner?
So he had to go to the hospital, get some stitches. So the following Friday, I go back in there to deliver, and he thanks me and all that. I get finished, and he hands me an envelope. And I'm like, what is this? He goes, just a little something for helping me out the other day. I said, I'm not taking that, Ken. I did that out of the kindness of my heart. I'm not taking it. He goes, John, take it. In my country, somebody offers you a gift like that, it's an insult if you don't take it. So I'm like, all right. So I took it. I didn't open it up. I got back to the plant and I opened it up, and he gave me $500.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So I was like, because he knew I was getting ready to leave to the academy, and so he wanted me
That's
to have a
awesome,
little
dude.
extra cash or whatever.
Is he still around?
No, he sold that store. And I don't know where he's at. When I got out of the academy, I went over there to visit him and stuff, and just to let him know that, hey, I graduated, I made it, and because he was always real supportive of me chasing that down. So
That's crazy, dude.
mhm.
That's a fucking crazy story. That's, to me, that's one of the scariest, if in an altercation, when someone has a knife.
Mhm.
That is the scariest thing to get. I think I'd rather get shot,
Yeah.
than get stabbed, dude.
Yeah.
It's a psychologically, just, it scares me.
And it was crazy. He just kind of swung around me, and it was like in slow motion. And I looked down, and blood just started running through his fingers, and I'm like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that kind of, I was like, you know what? Yeah. This is
Let's
what
do it.
Yeah, this is what I like. This is what I'm about.
Hell
I can
yeah.
do this.
Hell yeah.
So that was the beginning of the end for me, Ding.
So, so what happens? Boom, you're an Imperial now.
I'm an
Imperial
Imperial,
PD, all
and
this-
I'm just worried about, am I going to know what to do? Am I going to know how to handle myself on calls? And, you do. You got to go through your FTO program, which is 3 months. First month with an officer, second month with a different officer, and then your last month with your FTO, and he's the one that actually signs you off if he feels you're ready to go. So yeah, I did my FTO program, and I was out on my own working graveyards, weekends.
Did you guys respond to El Centro?
Yeah.
How does that work?
So El Centro and Imperial uses the same dispatch center located out of Central PD, but because Imperial is a small department, we're together, so we can hear their traffic and they can hear our traffic. We're on the same channel, so we hear their calls, they hear our calls, and so if anything pops off, they can hear and they'll know to start responding or whatever. So that's the good thing about it, is that we're all on the same sheet of music when come dispatch wise.
There's there's no issues when, for example, an Imperial cop goes out of their city to another city. How does that work?
No.
There's no problem. There's no issues there. Like
No.
like the legality of it, you're good to go.
Yeah, there's technically really no jurisdiction if you're in law enforcement, and maybe you're driving from El Centro to Brawley to follow up in a case, and you see a violation. You can legally pull somebody over and handle that, even though you're not in the city.
Yeah.
But if you're just out roaming out of your jurisdiction, then you're gonna have to answer to somebody like, what are you doing over there? But if you're on your way somewhere and you have a purpose that you're going to, and en route you see something, then yeah,
That's different than
that's different.
just driving around.
Just driving around randomly in Calexico and you work for El Centro PD, yeah, that's not gonna fly unless you're working a case or something.
Yeah.
But then you would give professional courtesy and you would notify that department, let them know,
Yeah,
hey,
I'm
listen, I'm
gonna
gonna
be-
be in
yeah.
your city, looking at this or that or whatever the case may be. So
Yeah. You got any crazy stories? Like, so what was what do you think was what were the most common calls that you would be called out to?
Mostly theft and narcotics, burglaries past occurred, a lot of narcotics, DUIs,
Oh, that sucks, dude.
dope. I worked a lot of dope because I enjoyed it.
Dope?
In terms of, I liked work, is a cat and mouse game, and I like working it. And my mentality was, if you take out dope, then there goes your petty theft, there goes your burglaries,
Yeah.
and all that other stuff, because who's usually doing that?
Yeah.
It's the crackhead who needs to take care of his fix. So he's going to go steal your kid's bike or your lawnmower or whatever. So you can take out two birds with one stone, in my opinion, by working that. So that's what I did. That was my specialty. But yeah, there's a lot of crazy stories. You think just because, it's Imperial, it's a small city, that shit doesn't happen, but it does. If you know where to look, you know what houses to look at, you know what to watch for, and you're active out there patrolling, actually working, doing your job, there's plenty of stuff popping off.
Did you ever deal with any domestic violence issues?
A few I have. Um, yeah, those are always real uncomfortable
That sucks, man.
because you're going into a man's home, a family's home,
Mm-hmm.
and it's already a volatile situation. So you're having to go in there and you're having to, you know, get between a man and a woman in the man's home and the woman's home, and divvy things out, and that's always a very spicy situation because
Yeah.
you don't know. If the man of the home is the one that's out of line and you start dealing with him, then the wife gets pissed off at you and jumps on you. And then if it's the woman, then the husband gets pissed off at you, and it's just a no-win situation.
Yeah.
They're very uncomfortable situations to deal with, and they're actually probably one of the deadliest calls you'll ever respond to is a domestic violence,
Really.
because you never know what you're gonna.
What do you see for like, for example, since you've had that experience as a police officer, I see things now, like I watch videos and stuff of of police where they overstep their boundaries. You know what I mean? How do you feel about that being on both sides? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see that. It's a fine line. You always got to be as extremely respectful as you possibly can. Go out of your way to be respectful. And you're just there to do your job. You're not there to take sides. You're there to take information. There's always three sides. There's his and hers, and there's the truth.
Yeah.
And so that's what your job is, to figure out what the truth is, who's the aggressor, and then you go from there, whether it's charges or whether we just need to be separated for the night or whatever the case may be. And you try to leave it at that, and you just try to be as polite and respectful. You're there to diffuse the situation, not amp it up or agitate it.
Yeah.
And so it's tough when you're going in there because, you're not there because they're having a good day. You're there because they're having a bad day. So, you just got to be extremely careful and try not to, antagonize the situation, so to speak. So
Hey,
they're real tricky.
back then when you were on, they didn't have body cams on.
No,
Did you deal
we
with that
were,
at all?
we were, no, I think maybe a year or two on the job, maybe a year. They came out, they assigned us tape recorders. They came in our pocket. They looked like you were carrying a pin.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were always on, and then you would just hit it anytime you were going to initiate a traffic stop, or you thought maybe an interaction with somebody was going to go sideways, then you would activate it. And so at the end of your shift, you'd come in and plug it into the computer and you would download it. So that was it. It was just audio,
No video.
no video. I was gone already when that started coming out.
What about on the cruisers? The no video?
No
Really?
video or audio, nothing. Old school.
Old
Old
school.
school love. Thank goodness.
Give people tune-ups.
Hey, you know what? Just a little act right. That's it.
Yeah.
Just a little act right. Sometimes if they needed it, it is what it is. But yeah, it was mostly dope, petty theft, a lot of pursuits, foot pursuits, vehicle pursuits, but that was it. Not a whole lot of DVs, to be honest with you. Didn't
Really?
respond to a whole bunch, but a few.
What about the other agencies? Does like Highway Patrol ever come out and help?
They do. Yeah, we dealt with them a lot. Actually,
Well, they're in your city, right? In the city
yeah,
limits.
because they roam around, and what's his name, Bobby Gonzalez and Pablo Torres from Brawley were always around when we were working graveyards. So they would back us up a lot on pursuits, foot pursuits, vehicle pursuits. They were always real good about that. If
Backing
they
you
were,
up.
100%, always. So same thing with El Centro PD too. They were always
Yeah.
right there. If you need anything, boom, they would show up. So
How do you feel about when people like going back to what I was talking about earlier, like all these cops violating people's rights? There's a because you I feel like I see things differently
Mhm.
now, right? Having been a law enforcement officer, even though I didn't have the same experiences being out on the street that much, I feel I get to see both sides of it. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And it honestly, it pisses me off, man. These cops nowadays, like I've had a couple issues with a cop here in El Centro, man, and it's like, bro, you're here to help out the community.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do you feel about?
Well, here's my thoughts on that is that if you notice a lot of these departments here in the valley, a lot of the people they hire they're out of towners. So what they do is they come down here and they'll work in the valley for 2 years. They'll get their post, because you got to be a full-time law enforcement officer for, I think it's either a year or 2 years. I believe it's a year, because it's a year probation. Then after that, you get your post certificate from Post. So that's what they do. They come down here, they work for 2 years, they get their post, and then they start applying out to the big cities, San
Mm-hmm.
Diego, National City, Palm Springs, and everywhere else but here. So you get a lot of people that come here, they have no ties to the community.
Mm-hmm.
They got no vested interest into the community. They don't care. They don't know you, your kids, your wife. In Imperial, I knew a lot of the families.
Yeah.
On the weekends, if I seen so and so, and they were drunk or they were misbehaving, if I knew the parents and I thought, you know what, just going to be more good that the parents deal with this than I do because
Yeah.
I know the parents, they're going to handle this, then I would let the parents deal with it,
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of the problem is you don't have people working in these departments that live in these communities that have a vested interest. This is just a pit stop for a lot of them.
Yeah.
So they don't really care. They don't care. The community policing part of being a cop doesn't matter to them.
I feel a lot of the times that they don't use their, I don't know if it gets to their head
Mm-hmm.
or what it is, that their ability to use their discretion. Sometimes I'm like, dude, come on, it's common sense. There's certain things, you know what I mean? I had a guy, for example, I forgot to pay the registration on my no, I didn't. I paid the registration, but I hadn't put the sticker on my Blazer. It was parked outside on the street, right?
Mm-hmm.
So guy comes up, he ran the plates. The vehicle's registered.
Mm-hmm.
You see that you see that it's registered to this house, right? And the registration's paid. He wrote me a ticket, bro. I'm out there already, like stopping him. Come on, man. Like, you know what I mean?
So you were out there?
I was out there. I walked out there when he was doing it. You know what I mean? But it's things like that, dude. Like, I had an incident also, 4th of July. So did I tell you about this?
No.
So invited everyone from work. We're having a party right here, and the whole office is here, man. The whole office in El Centro, and I brought fireworks from what was it, Nevada, from Vegas, right? I went over there and got some fireworks,
Some illegal fireworks,
right? So
allegedly.
So we're over here having a good time. It's a one day out of the year, you know what I mean? And I guess they were enforcing it, and they fined me $1,000 fine, dude, for the fireworks. You know what I mean? And it's things like that make me, as I'm driving around the community in El Centro, I see all these homeless people, all this all the crime that's going on. Like, why don't you go enforce that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes I feel, to me, why are you messing with the taxpayer, with the family man that's trying to do things right?
No, I agree. You know what? Even when I was working, I seen it, and I see it now. Is that that's what a lot of the officers these days, they think that's what police work is: going out and writing 200 tickets a month. What are you doing? Why are you taxing the taxpayers of your city? Yeah, you got to write citations, and there's things that you got to do. You got to generate income and all that. I get it, but if you want to do real police work, do real police work. Watch houses, work dope, and do things like that. Why are you going to pick on the taxpayers of the city in which you work?
Yeah.
That was always my mindset. I would always get jammed up on my evals because I would write like maybe 4 or 5 tickets a month, or even for the whole year. It just wasn't my thing. I didn't. And if you got the ticket, if I wrote you a ticket, then you were an asshole.
Yeah.
Because I tried to do everything I could to, let you off. I just, writing citations just wasn't my thing. Like, if you had to bust a tail light and you hadn't fixed it yet, it's probably because you didn't have the money. So now I'm going to write you a ticket. So now you got to fix the tail light, and now you got to pay the ticket. But I would pull you over still just to see what your attitude is about it. Did you know it, or were you didn't care? Or you know what? Yeah, I just haven't had the money. I'm trying to. Well, I'm gonna show you some courtesy because I have the ability to do that. Letter of the law, spirit of the law. Yeah. And for me, that wasn't police work. Getting in there, watching these dopers and watching these dope houses and controlling that activity, and people running the street at night, going through people's yard. To me, that's police work, and that takes effort. And you have to want to do it, because the easy thing to do is just run T-stops all day, run license plate, pull people over, write them tickets. Yeah, you're doing your job, but really, what is that?
Yeah.
What are you doing for your community? Are you making it safer? No, you're not, in my opinion. So that was always my mindset.
Well said, brother. Yeah, that's fucking legit. So, what do you, living here close to the border, is there any differences that you think being in a border, even though it's not a border city, right? Imperial's what, maybe 15-minute drive to the
Yeah.
border of Mexico.
And then we have the main 86, like the main corridor that runs through the heart of the city.
So tell me about that. What do you compare to uh, other areas in California or around the country that don't have that aren't that close to the border? What do you think? How is that different in policing?
You get a lot of traffic, but the thing about it is you got 111 too. So they take the outskirts, but there's a few times where we would get information that there was dope cars coming through 86. So I remember we popped a van one time and we found dope in the spare tire. And I remember when we let the air out so we can smell it. And oh yeah, it's definitely good. Dogs hit on it and all that. So we end up opening it up, and there was packaged stuff in there. And at first we're like, "Oh, this is cocaine." Like you don't just run cocaine. You don't just deliver cocaine. You have to have permission.
Yeah.
So if you run across a load like that, then there's a good chance that's coming from the cartel, and it's a high level deal. So you better take that serious because they don't like their loads being interrupted.
Yeah.
Fortunately for us, it ended up only being marijuana, which is still a big deal, but it's not as dangerous, as if
Yeah.
you found a vehicle full of
This is
cocaine.
this is back then. It wasn't legalized?
No,
Yeah.
no. So yeah, so we found a bunch of marijuana packages in the spare tire of a van. So yeah, you have to look for that
Yeah.
a lot because they'll come through there 86 down 111 down Dogwood, so you do get a lot of traffic through there.
What
So
about dealing with the feds?
never really, only people that I really worked with a lot was BP once in a while, FBI. Never HSI, worked with them a little bit. NTF. That's really it that I work for. Marshals now and again, if they were looking at someone or picking someone up in your city. In your city, it was mostly, hey, we're going to be working in your city on this street, so just be aware and stuff like that. But not very often do we work hand in hand.
No.
No, I mean, not that we don't want to, but when I was there, it just never really presented itself a lot, But there is a lot of interagency um, cooperation.
Everyone
Yeah,
helping each other out and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah, 100%.
That's crazy, man. Those cool stories, cool experiences that you've had. You know what I mean?
Pursuits, foot pursuits. I was involved in a shooting.
Really? Tell me about that one.
Responded to a dead body, a murder. So, yeah, you would not think in Imperial, but yeah,
That's crazy, man.
all these things went down.
Hope you guys enjoyed another episode of the Brain Bucket Podcast where we interview people from different backgrounds. We try to pick their brain and try to get the raw truth and see things from their perspective. Feel free to follow us at the links below. You could also follow us at the Brain Bucket Podcast. Share, subscribe, leave comments, and share this with your friends. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time.